Bro, before we get into what I really want to talk to you about today, this is Rich. Say your last name.
Chmielewski.
Hey, it's Chmielewski!
You hear that one? Chmielewski. That's
we've
covered it before. We'll cover it again.
Dude, Chmielewski. Shim. That's what it is. Because we always say we say Chmielewski? Chim?
Yeah.
I think it's how common. We think it is.
It's just, you get the general thing, don't pronounce the W, and it'll be good, you know what I mean? You read it, it's crazy, but Chmielewski.
Yeah, I'll try to fucking remember that.
No big deal, bro.
That'll come up on a spelling bee one day, and somebody's going to be thrown through a loop. They're like, I ain't got it. But you were asking me, or we were talking about, how did CrossFit get brought up?
You asked me if I trained since we trained.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because we rolled. Now this will be like a few weeks ago, but it was actually in reality like 2 days ago.
2 days ago, yeah.
Had a good training session together at your house in your garage.
A little fun time.
Had a really good conversation, but I asked you if you had trained since then, and then I brought up that. I haven't rolled since then, which was just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But yesterday I did CrossFit, and like this is like they call it Heroes Week.
Yeah.
So I'm so new into into CrossFit that I'm like a white belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And every day there's a workout, and they call that a WOD, so workout of the day.
Okay.
And this week is the hero WODs. So every single day is dedicated either to a different group of heroes or a different hero. So like Pat Tillman or like Murph. I don't know Murph's first name.
It's
man. I just know Murph.
Michael Murphy.
Michael Murphy.
U.S. Navy. He was a SEAL. That he was... And if I mess this up, like, obviously I apologize, but it is in conjunction with the whole story of Lone Survivor.
Okay.
And that where Marcus Luttrell was the last remaining member of a SEAL team. Michael Murphy's unit had came in and was going to try to basically be a quick reaction force for what was taking place on ground.
Yeah.
Their bird was shot out of the sky, and it went down. It killed a bunch of Army Rangers, I believe, as well as Michael Murphy's team, him, and then the 160th crew, the Chinook crew that was assigned to the Special Operations Aviation Regiment that was flying helicopters for that. But yeah, it's all that stuff is in conjunction with Memorial Day. Memorial Day is coming up.
Which is why they're doing a whole week of it, or at least that's like that made the most sense to me, because like, dude, I don't know if you don't come from a military background, do you? Or is it just since you started into the military?
It wasn't pushed, man. It wasn't. It was definitely not something that I was like groomed for in any way.
Yeah.
My grandfathers both were in the Army. One more specifically in the Army Air Corps. This is World War II time frame. And then I believe like great-grandfathers had fought during like World War I as well. It was something I had reflected on when I came in, or when I got into the military, and definitely took a lot of pride in. But
definitely a different point of view since you were a child.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I bring that up because when I was a kid, I didn't know what Memorial Day was or what Labor Day was. I thought they were both the same thing. Like, you just get a day off, because when you're a kid, they don't really explain
Veterans
too much
Day,
unless you come from or you're involved in some way with military in your family. I think then maybe it gets explained a little better. My dad's dad was in the military. I think he was in the Army. But he was in World War II and got shot in the butt, and they sent him back. So, like,
Okay.
I don't think he was discharged, but they never put him back over there. Like, he was he was back home, and that's how it ended, basically. But it was never explained to me. So, like, learning more about it as I got older, I was like, oh, like, this is in remembrance of fallen soldiers, heroes that passed away in the line of duty, or just people that have given more than I give. You know, that so I can live the life that I can. I do not understand to this day what Labor Day is. Because don't we all work?
I think that's what it just kind of...
Give us a month off, dude. Don't give me a day, bro.
Just celebrate. It celebrates something. It's the pizza party, bro.
I guess so. Give me a week, bro. That'd be a nice... Give me a 10-day
nice
stretch,
chunk of change. Yeah.
Maybe I'm being greedy now, but... so it now, tying it into being in CrossFit as an adult, and I don't know if all CrossFit gyms are like this, but I know, like, hero workouts are definitely a part of, like, all CrossFit gyms, to my knowledge.
Like the culture.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because there's a lot of military in our CrossFit gym, but they definitely make it like a point of pride. Yeah. Like, we read out every single day that there's like an assigned hero to that workout.
Oh, wow.
And every workout is very different. So it's like maybe the length of the workout is a significant number to... So, like, maybe it's 20 minutes and 16 seconds. Because somebody died in 2016. Or maybe it's 22 reps of 22 sets. Okay. And you have 22 minutes to do it because 22 meant something to somebody. And then you end all of it on Murph. So, like, every single day is different, and then the final day is Murph. Yeah. So I did my first, like, I wouldn't say my first hero. My first hero workout ever was my first day in CrossFit. I didn't know what it was. I just thought that's CrossFit. I was like, every day is like this? This is awesome because it's going to be like everything's hard. Yeah. So you're going to get better at everything. I mean, I was wrecked after the first day. Like, my hands were ripped and everything. But doing the hero yesterday, it was the most challenging thing I've done so far in CrossFit. You ran 400 meters holding a 45-pound plate. Okay. And then you have a partner, so you trade off whenever you get done with that run, wherever they don't finish off on the workout. And the workout was like 6 rope climbs all the way to the top and then descend. Okay. And then you do... I'm still really bad at, like, the terminology for it, but you basically do, like, a power clean. You drop down squat, and then you thrust at the top. So I think they're called thrusters, but at the top of the squat, like when you squat to the bottom, you come all the way to the top, you push the weight, and that's got to be at 155, and then you do 11 box jumps. So that little 3 set should be done at the same time somebody's running around with that 45-pound plate. Whatever say you're doing your workout, if you don't finish... They get back before you finish. They pick up where you left off. And then you start your run. No matter where you ended up on the workout. You don't pick back up where you left off. When you get back, whatever they have left, you pick up where they left. Okay. You do that for, I think it was 31 minutes. Bro. Oh, yeah. I got through the first 400-meter run relatively easy because I literally started with it. And then you get to the second one and you're like, oh, I'm probably not going to be able to run every single 400 meters. I'm going to kind of run as much as I can and then speed walk because the jump of the weight in your chest on your forearms feels like it's ripping your skin and shit. Yeah. I mean, it's meant to be difficult. These are based off of people that have, I mean, given more than I'll ever be able to understand for a life that a lot of us take for granted. We're just like, man, it's not cold enough in this room. Or like the radio went out of my car. Yeah. You know?
Just kind of shine some perspective in.
On it humbles your your perspective. Like, you're like, damn it, things could always be way worse. Very true. You know? But I thought that was a very cool thing to like tie into like what we're going to talk about today, and that's like what you've gone through in your military experience and like
it's been crazy, but everybody could kind of say that, you know what I mean? I feel from a matter of their perspective, like the military in itself is a pretty wild idea, let alone its place in society, its place in the modern world, its place in what's going on in the world. You and as you leave, it goes on, and conflicts end. Maybe just stuff doesn't go maybe the way you thought. I guess that was kind of like my big take on it.
Like you go into the military probably thinking it's way different than it is.
Like
or you come in with an idea.
You definitely I feel like in life we get a picture painted for us. You know what I mean? In war movies and everything else, and just what a recruiter is telling you. It for sure paints a picture. And then too, you kind of get in there and you start seeing those same, I guess, values that they're instilling, because every branch of service, I'm sure, has like a core group of values that they're like, this is our stuff. And the Army had their stuff, and within that there can be advancement. You know what I mean? There can be there's a certain level you need to kind of carry yourself at, and then that gets rewarded. You know what I mean? It gets rewarded with promotions. It gets rewarded with favorable action, just sometimes in terms of just an easier duty day. The fact that you just kind of, I hate to say buy into it, but you
live in the culture, so you become a part of it.
Yeah, but within that, man, there's so much bravery associated with it, so much valor. Yeah. And at the end of it, it's all about, truly, I believe, no matter what you do in the military, if you're doing it kind of with the idea of I'm doing this for the betterment of the person under me, my soldiers, the people that I can directly influence and kind of make their existence a little bit better, they're ultimately who's gonna run into it. Do something crazy on a battlefield.
Yeah, be in your foxhole. I mean? Is that an outdated term, foxhole?
No,
really?
Not. So it I guess in a way it was in terms of a modern battlefield where we were so, centered in the Middle East. However, you look at what's going on in Europe right now, and these kids, that's basic 101, just kind of getting low in terms of shelling, because shells will hit the ground and explode upward. Well, if you're lower than the ground, chances are it's going to be, less chance that something's going to hit you. Keep your head down, and, just that kind of situation. And as I was leaving the military, this was in 2018, the conventional Army was getting very much back into we're a pack up everything, move to this area, secure it, set up everything, and be able to do that as many times as we need to. And that includes at first pulling, a security of the area, establishing safety, for all your commodities. And that's easiest maintain something on the ground, something low defilate, right off the rip, inside if you can build up, great. But most chances you can't. But yeah, foxhole very, very, very much part of at least the Army culture. I don't know how.
It's a huge part of movies. A lot of movies are yo, you're in my foxhole. They build little cities. It looks like ants.
And that's where you go through shit with each other. Yeah. That's where you build the bonds. That's where you talk shit. That's where you find out crazy stuff about each other. But that's what gets you through 100%. And that's the reason you end up doing it. And if at the end of the day, that's 100% my justification. I would do that for anybody all over again. That came under, that was under my, just my leadership, my supervision at the time. Very much even a parental figure in a way. sometimes these, kids are 18, 19, fresh out of their parents' house, have never lived alone, and
That's
sometimes
tough.
sometimes they're out of basic, out of AIT, and they're going to like Korea right away. Have never done anything like that before, so they're introduced to a lot of this stuff for the first time, and they'll need guidance or whatever. But in seeing the overall direction of the mission, of where you want everything to go, where what you believe in the military, what you believe it is, you're gonna bring these people up to carry that on after you're gone in many ways, and that's all the way through. I feel like, especially in when you start looking at like special operations and things like that. Oh, like those guys are selecting their replacements, like, and they have to, because they know what it takes to get that to get that job done.
Yeah, I can only imagine how tough it can be. When you first started into the military, did you have an idea of where you wanted your end goal to be? And if you did it change?
I had no idea.
You just were joining
for
what reason?
So, I mean, I was actually cleaning windows for the first time in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And it was a fine gig. But I had a really good buddy of mine. He was in the Marine Corps Reserves. And his unit was in Green Bay. We went up there for a Memorial Day get-together of all times. Wild, right? And I was, we were drinking with a bunch of these Marines, and they were, we were, just doing some push-ups, just juiced up, you know what I mean? But they're young Marines. They're just, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is what, like, is this what it is? Like, this is somebody that I kind of look up to.
It's like a frat.
Who also, like, he was a young father. He had a 2-year, 1-and-something-year-old daughter at the time. My daughter was on the way, and I was like, this is, if not, she was there, you know what I mean? But I was like, this is something that's like, I should seriously think about.
Yeah. Stability and stuff.
So, and one thing led to another in terms of like my recruiting process. I didn't graduate high school, on time, but that ultimately like pushed me towards figuring that portion of my life out. However, within doing that, I was actually able to enlist under the degree I had, which was a GED at the time. And I was able to enlist as a truck driver. When it was kind of one of my only options, just because of like that education equivalent that I had. Yeah. But I was like, I can do it. Like, honestly, anything to get in at this point. Because the Marine Corps had turned me down because of the education thing. When I went to basic, I took it very seriously, whereas I saw other folks didn't. And I was actually almost like, just kind of, I was definitely taken back, because I was kind of thinking, while I'm here, I'm going to, hold this standard. I'm going to, do what I'm kind of supposed to, and not really stray too far out of like the limit that I had. Yeah. But so I guess through all my training, I actually did really, really good, up until the point like I had like a little bit of freedom, and then started, I guess, really like I didn't see it so much as like a work. Like I was like kind of just, this is my life now, and I kind of go do these things. I got deployed right away out of all that training. I graduated training in the middle of June, and then I was in Afghanistan on like August 3rd. So less than a month and a half, about a month and a half, 2010. Wow. So, and I was 20 at the time. We fell into a mission too that was extremely dangerous. We we were driving as well as like pulling security. So literally a foxhole type mission. However, we were doing it from like gun trucks. We were pulling security for an entire like Army and Marine, basically Army convoys that were escorting, carrying a bunch of Marine tanks on the back of, you know, massive Army trucks. Yeah. And I kind of fell into being a gunner. I was like, this is great. I loved being in the turret. I loved shooting at stuff. And we had some crazy encounters. Like personally, we came. Ultimately, the company was decorated with a combat action company streamer on their guidon, which is like their little company flag. What that meant for us was we were actually the third. What we were told, we were the third support company. So not a direct infantry line, you know, first line of defense type company.
Yeah.
But the third support company since 9/11 that had actually received that. And in order to receive that, I think it was like 70% or more, maybe even 75% of your company had to have been involved in direct enemy contact during your deployment. And I think so out of that, I think we had over like 120 combat action badges awarded to different individuals. Not to mention over, I believe, like 65 Purple Hearts from
Damn,
injuries.
y'all the dream team.
Like, so yes, very, very, very much. We
Magic,
okay,
Jordan, fucking Bird.
Oh man, like, and that was it though. Like, it was what we bought into. We were very much,
y'all believed in each other.
Like, and there's a book out there right now. If you want to maybe get a little insight, people out there want to get an insight on it. It's called Team Frosty. It's not my specific platoon. However, it was one, a squad leader I worked with. His name is Eric Fikes, very impressive individual. But he wrote a book telling about his experiences as a squad leader, as a truck commander, running that mission, running to the same places we were. Great book. Mentions a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of enemy type situations that we went through on a daily basis. Every mission was, if we were going in the desert, basically off of like we would refer to it as a hardball road or like an asphalt road. As soon as we went into just solid, like, or to just dirt, it was the risk factor just went up because it was way easier to bury stuff.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're getting into.
Plus, we were kind of operating at a time where, or in a location of the world where like this tribe, where tribes are still a thing. These small sects are a thing, and the Taliban would come in there and as they would see American trucks maybe driving through their fields, where they would have, you know, basically it would look almost like waffle type sand mounds kind of built up for irrigation purposes to hold like a large quantity of water over time. Yeah. If we kind of drove over the corner of that, they're getting mad. You know what I mean? They're getting upset.
Toes.
They're not that, and it's not that it's these farmers that are gonna, you know, blow us up, but it's gonna be Taliban that comes in and is like, "Hey, what happened to your field?" Yeah. You know, oh man, they shouldn't be doing that. Well, you want us to let us do something about it. Let's,
because you're then fucking with the Taliban's money. Because I'm sure the Taliban gets their beak wet with whatever's going on in their city.
Well, it's like just they're the good guys then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the good guys, and
so
then they're not. You know, we're not going to get any information from people. It was very much a real situation we dealt with. However, I mean, that was, in retrospect, that was just where we were operating at the time. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, we know what happened with Afghanistan. Like, that was kind of a shit show, 100% a shit show towards the end. And I'll say it, like, and in a lot of the ways, I feel like should be chronicled as a shit show.
I'm very
kind of like,
I'm very uninformed. That's when they were pulling those airplanes out and the people were hanging on airplanes.
yeah,
That's Afghanistan.
yeah,
because they just immediately pulled everything, right?
yeah. So what basically as we gave,
That was heartbreaking to watch.
it was extremely heartbreaking to see, let alone to be following certain things like
And you got inside, like you've been there, like so you get what is going on deeper than say me or Hilton would.
yeah, like just in terms of the cruelty for one, like of the Taliban, and that entire motivation, I guess you could say, because like the people that are within that, they're fueled by something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that it's because of this, it's because of that, but like there's definitely motivation there to handle things the way that they do, to look at women the way that they do, to look at Americans the way that they do.
Yeah. It's culture, and it was for them.
That's so like, it is. And that was kind of our counter, you know what I mean? It was like we're liberating this, we're getting rid of this, or and that was what was told to us. We need to win the hearts and minds, because that was what they were doing, and that's ultimately kind of what they've done. You know what I mean? They've come back in and just as easily as we kind of, I don't even want to say like swooped in and took over. They just kind of like step back. Like Afghanistan was weird in that regard, because this is an enemy that fought how many empires and has come out still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Controlling the same land that they've been fighting over, this whole time. And they're, 100% they won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%. And I feel like it should be documented that way. There's a veterans memorial actually like not too far from here, that I know when it was erected, the conflict in Afghanistan was still like taking place. However, Vietnam War had been well and done. Well, in terms of the end date for the Vietnam War, they had depicted the year as well, with the inscription the fall of Saigon.
Yeah.
And in me looking at this memorial, I see the Afghanistan campaign that was left blank. I feel the obvious inscription should be 2021 fall of Kabul. It's just kind of where I guess looking back is tough in retrospect, but like it's almost only that same ego getting in the way. Yeah. Kind of that the same ego that was essentially like rewarded within the military and within that whole culture. That's where that sadness comes from. That's where that, this happened to me, comes from. But I'm coming up on the time where like I still have a couple years left, but I'll have been out of the military longer than I had been in.
How long were you in total?
8.5 years.
Wow.
And
that's a long time.
It's a long time. I thought I was going to be in more, in the middle of all that.
What was it that took you out?
It was a medical retirement. Kind of just beat up from my time in, and due to everything, I became like non-deployable. So it was like, why even be in anymore? And so I took the medical retirement, knowing too that like insurance is taken care of for my daughter. So 100% great. Yeah. However, to have changed my mind from, I mean, people the last 20 years, beat up, hunched over, carrying rucksacks, carrying whatever they
I
need
can't
to
even
carry.
imagine the stuff you've seen to like see the origin story of where injuries come from. I mean, just being someone who's lived in a military town, you see all walks of life and all injuries that have happened to them because military retire here sometime. Mm-hmm. I mean, more often than not. Pensacola, I guess, is a really big destination. Which, being born and raised in Pensacola, you don't see it that way. You just like, this is my hometown.
Yeah.
I think everybody has that view of their own hometown, like, what is so special about this place? I personally like Pensacola, but generally speaking, when I was growing up, it was like,
Yeah.
You didn't even know it was something special. I remember the first time I even found out it was something cool was back in the day, there used to be this, on TV, I don't have cable anymore, so it could still be on there, but it used to be the Travel Channel. Mm-hmm. But it was like, late at night, it would be more like spicier content. Mm-hmm. So one of the spicier content things was like top 10 beaches like hot people go to or something. And we were like number 1 or 2. And I was like, Pensacola? I was like, did our station make this?
You're a little disappointed.
I thought it was like altered. I was 100%. Like, oh, somebody touched the tape. Like
doctored it.
Yeah.
Local.
I was like, there's no way.
Local plug.
Yeah, apparently we have one of the nicer beaches.
Yeah.
I had no idea because that's all I've ever known.
So.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But with that being said, like, they retire here, so you'll see people in wheelchairs with, like, literally no lower half.
Yeah.
They don't even really have thighs or anything, or no arms. They have, like, not robotic arms, but they'll have, like, prosthetic arms.
Prosthesis that can
and I'm like, I can't even fathom being born like able-bodied, completely fine, and then doing something you're so unbelievably passionate about, and you're like, yo, I'm willing to put my life on the line, and maybe that passion's still there, but your body can't do it, or like
your mind can't do it,
yeah, or like something happens and it takes you out. That, for the people involved in those situations, I don't think anybody knows how that feels but them.
Yeah. And
I've known since I've met you, I feel like there's been, not that there wasn't growth before I met you, but I feel like within even the time that I've met you, which is probably a year and a half now or something like that.
Dude, almost 2 years. Well, 2 years now.
Oh, okay.
About 2 years.
So within that time, there's been a lot of growth, I feel like, with how you've personally handled what's gone on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries at all. And I know, like when we have our talks after rolling or before rolling, or whatnot, like just the amount of tools that I feel like you like secondhand me, that you picked up.
Yeah.
That I get to like just kind of, oh, that is a good tool because I'm dealing with something.
That's cool.
It's not maybe on the level you're dealing with it, but I can maybe implement a style that you've talked about, and I'm like, oh, that's a good point of view or a good perspective.
So what I've definitely had to do is man, one of the first things that even kept me personally out of a therapy kind of situation to deal with the stuff that I went through while I was in was the fact that I held some of the stuff that I had went through in a higher regard than some of the stuff other people have went through. Just kind of, and it was again just that ego stuff. But I mean that stems from the fact that, you know, awards and everything in the military, you look at somebody in their dress uniform and you can see the schools they've been through, you can see the places they've been, how many times they've gone overseas, if they've been in combat or not.
It's
if
like
they've
the resumes
even deployed,
on their chest,
let alone the actual resumes that we have, in terms of record briefs that are meant to stay as up to date as possible, so you can have a snapshot of any person within a moment's notice. Because you may be assigned to me, and I'm like, okay, let me see your da-da-da. Okay, all right, well, you haven't had this yet, so I'm going to put you as a team leader. And then you're going to, whatever.
That's not even to say how it affects them personally.
No, and that's...
Like, me and you could both go through the same thing. I already know I have separation issues. Yeah. So, like, us going to Afghanistan, I'm going to be in pieces already. Just that alone.
Yeah.
And you might be stronger, and then something might happen, and I might be okay to deal with that thing, but you might be in pieces.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe you see the resume, but you really don't know how that individually affects them. They might be hard as nails and nothing affects them.
You don't know. You
never know.
It reflects nothing, bro. And that I guess kind of was like my thing is I wanted to know the individual. Like I wanted to know my soldiers kind of on a level where, you know, I understood what they were going through, what their wife was trying to do for like school or you know, what their kids were up to. Just ensuring that like their life was taken care of, because I knew that's, you know, out there were not. And I'm not saying that's every case, but you definitely had to tell people to, you know, to ensure to clean their like barracks rooms, the ones that were single, you know. That's definitely part of just like the basic concepts of like discipline that, you know, you try to instill. However, that stuff carries on. Specifically about like the records and like that resume is, again, that stuff was, you know, is awarded to an extent with promotions. So you can't help but to see where you measure up against that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may feel like a certain level of like inadequacy if like that affects you in that way. So
would you say it's competitive within?
Oh, bro, it's so competitive.
What are you guys considered? Squads, teams?
It's so maybe not so much within
Your
a
own
squad,
thing?
but definitely amongst peers. Same pay grades. Because as you get farther along, you're in each branch of service, whether it's like non-commissioned officer, warrant, whatever. You get to a certain level of promotion where if you got promoted, it's because you're filling this seat. You know what I mean? This person left who was this rank. Now you've met all the qualifications by my perspective of standards.
Yeah.
Your paperwork, your picture, your interviews, and now like you get your promotion, you get this, you get that. So once that stops though, it's very different in the civilian world, obviously, because like you're here asking me about it and I'm giving you all this stuff. You're like, oh dang, like
yeah, this is idea. It's like you opened a book.
It's so and it's. It varies for everybody. Again, you fit into the culture and things are great and things are easy, or you don't fit into the culture and things are honestly like terrible. So it beyond that though, if it becomes everything you are, like, and you do leave, there is going to be that adjustment period. But like that's my thought on it. When Serena got to the point where she was out longer than she was in, I was like almost not envious, but I was like proud of her. Where I was definitely like, that's something like I want to achieve for, like I want to, like I'm excited to get to, because like that's going to be just a cool perspective. You know what I mean? Like to be able to look at your life and be like, to this point, you know, everything is like because of the military, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I can look back and say that, you know, the military definitely was an answer to a lot of the questions that I had in life. And it is for so many people as well. I'm not bashing it in any way, shape, or form. But that's just it. It's gonna continue with or without you. It's gonna take, it's gonna take what it takes. And looking back, in order to move past it, you kind of need to let the ego that was associated with it just completely die. Yeah. Like, it's a beautiful thing, and a very, you know, like to be able to be, you know, a warrior in that aspect. Like, you can look back on all day, but it's what is that in my here and now? Like, it's really not anything that needs to even be like glorified almost. Like I can,
you can appreciate what
you
happened.
go beyond that and you appreciate it for sure.
So hearing you speak about it now, I've never had this thought until just hearing you explain that right then. Do you feel like your life while you were in the military paused and you lived a different life than when you came back, and then you had to relearn like what life was like again? You're like, because you were speaking about being envious of Serena being out longer than she was in, and then you're like, whoa, I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah.
Was that one of the thoughts, like, when you come back, now what?
That's it. It's the when you come back, now what?
It's kind of like, and I know this is a terrible comparison, but like people who play football their whole entire life, they go to the NFL, and for whatever reason, they have a beautiful career and they retire, or they get injured or something. But their identity in life, everybody knows them as a football player.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they cannot play anymore because their body can't do it, or whatever the thing is. They're always left with, now what? Or a fighter. Yeah. Now what?
100%.
Like, how do you handle that? Where do you even start with? I mean, obviously you start with now what, but like.
So specifically, I mean, and even for, and maybe this is me just thinking a little bit too much into it. I truly don't believe so. The movie, the Top Gun Maverick movie, like so good. In terms of the
Hilton's
story
gonna hate that he missed you saying that one sentence.
I know.
He's gonna be pissed. He's gonna play this in front of my face like,
So I have a perspective on it that relates to the storyline, and it is just that where kind of what I was saying. You're looking at the person underneath you. What I feel underlying portion of that movie is that Tom Cruise in the first movie, lost Goose, somebody he was so dependent on, and everything else like that, and very much blamed himself. However, beyond that, and after that, he dedicated the rest of his career to helping other people, to honoring the person to the left and right of him. So like that was shown like in the first scene where like he basically steals that plane and takes it, goes to 10 and he's
killer
like,
scene.
He's like, hey, I'd rather get us, if I don't do this, like we're all out of work the next, tomorrow.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're hitting it. And then, the movie goes on. Obviously, that entire movie is about ensuring that his people get back safe. Yeah. And then at the very, very end, when he's talking to Val Kilmer, and he's like, let him go. He's like, I don't know how to be not a pilot like anymore. Like, he's like, it's time to let go. And it's like, that's just very, like, the ego, everything that comes along with it, that's it. Like your identity, your individuality, is that nothing more than just like your ego at the end of the day? Like just
I feel like a big portion of it has to be like, in life a lot of things happen to you and you're not always given time to properly like adjust. You just have to go. You have to deal with it. Like sometimes people lose parents and it's like, well, tough luck. You just got to deal with that now. You don't get an adjustment where like, hey, in 3 weeks, dad's gone.
It sounds horrible. But
so it's like the whiplash, the whiplash of like, you gotta do what is happening right now. You have to just keep moving. But the whiplash of the emotions coming back to you, because they'll always catch up to you, of like, now what kind of thing, or like maybe dealing with trauma from like your childhood. Like you may go a long time without anything, but I always feel like it's always going to catch up to you. Then something's going to click and you're like, whoa, that's what happened, or that's why I feel this way, or I don't know. Things like that make sense to me. You know? Like when you said let go and it was like,
yeah.
It's because like all that time he was dealing with all that grief, and then all of a sudden, like
That's that first, yeah. Even in the very first Top Gun, you know how that ends, where he like is freezing up and stuff, and like just snaps back into it. It just paints a picture, I guess that resonated within me and within my particular just kind of what fueled me.
yeah,
And that honestly was gone when I left. I had like some really, really, really good, or some soldiers that I can like look back on in my that impacted me. That would have never had that impact on me if like I felt like if I hadn't had that impact on them. So
yes,
it's
you feel bonded.
closer, sometimes closer in blood, and like you can go years without talking to some people, but like that's it. You've gone through, but that's just it. Like beyond that, if you're not finding like that understanding, it's like you need to kind of like dismiss it. You need to dismiss that as no longer being here. I guess kind of how I've I don't know, man. Letting go is such a tough concept for everybody.
It is because how?
Yeah.
Because all is like how to carry whatever you're mentally carrying. It is so hard, the concept, because like I'm gonna tell you, I haven't mastered it. I have learned to like maybe think about something differently,
And that's
versus just maybe the perspective is what I let go of,
that's
not it. I mean, I could try, but it's like I don't know how to just walk away. It's just to relate it to something I feel like is more relatable. Say it better than that, I guess. But is like everybody deals with breakups, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this like terrible concept of like to get over somebody, you get under someone. So you fuck someone new to get over someone you just love. That's not going to make it better. That's just going to like feed very, very quick, impulsive thoughts, which is not the way to handle it. But like everybody can relate to like letting go of someone.
Yeah.
But it's not always up to you when that happens. So either they walk away from you or maybe you walk away from them. But if you walk away from them, typically you can let go way quicker because either you already have or you're way better or more comfortable with the idea of doing it in general. When they walk away from you, the let go was already forced, and then you're left with what is left.
I keep coming back to ego, man, and it's so...
Yeah.
I guess kind of like that's where all my stuff ultimately stems from. Like I at any point anybody can play a victim mentality. And I'm not saying it in a bad like, oh, cry for me sense. But just the fact of even letting somebody know what you'd gone through is a way of me trying to manipulate your perspective of me. You know what I mean? So where, to do what? To at the end of the day, like stroke my ego, and that's where I feel like this individuality and stuff and where these associations between like profession and your individuality can cause people so much harm because it's that ego that gets comfortable, and within that they can say that in all of these people's minds I am this. Within all of these people's minds I look this way. I am this way. Like, but maybe you're not. Maybe, there's definitely people out there that probably think you're an asshole. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
So within that alone, like, if you just kind of let go of that idea of maybe that you need to step into something, or that you need this identity, that you need it for you, I go back to the idea of the soldiers, the people under me, where I'm like, me doing the stuff that I did for them is going to make them look at me in a way that, like, to be honest, I don't know. And it's not my job to know. It's not my responsibility to know. It's not my obligation to change either. I'm just going to do what I can do, like, out of the goodness of my heart, like, to honestly impact their life.
Yeah.
In a better, in a better way.
It's bigger than you.
Dude,
and I hate to use these terms because it sounds like I'm for this mystic thing of, like, the greater good, but it's for the greater good of mankind. You're trying to take care of the people you can take care of. What else can you do past that? Because if you can take care of them, they're going to take care of everything they can take care of.
Exactly.
Like, it's like the paying it forward thing in, like, a weird way.
Yeah. You need to. It will that in itself, you can say, relates to loss, of, like, a loved one, a death, going through grief, where somebody is sad initially that they're gone, but I feel like that's the ego is sad, that they're not sad because they're not sad for the person, they're sad for themselves, like, very much in that way, that, like, oh, now I have to live my life without them.
Yeah, I don't get to experience them again.
And what they ultimately kind of come to is, like, I need to live their, live in their legacy and kind of do what they would want me to do what, live my life, or live my life a certain way, or, they did this, so I should do this. And that's it. That's what it's about. I feel like more than anything else. And, like, within that, again, like, that individual has their own perspective, and it was never the person that passed idea, to change their perspective on them. It was just, it was what naturally happens. People leave, and we're left with their everlasting, like, that is who they are in my head. And that's either good or it's bad. Either, we miss them or we don't. We love them or we don't, but, we miss them when we're gone. We love them when they're gone. That same love that they have shown, you know what I mean, can come out through you. You know what I mean? It can transcend the other way too. So it's just, that's where I look at these greater good things, and how, the idea that old cable show, like, when Life Without Humans or whatever, when, like, humans are completely gone, and they just did all the CGI of nature taking back over and crumbling buildings and everything. I'm just like, humans are the only animal that's, like, honestly, like, making the world like a worse place. Like, honestly, like, taking, you know what I mean? Where it's not, like, really, like, living for the betterment of anything else.
It's because we have the technical, what is it? Applicability? What is the word I'm looking? Where you can apply. We have the technical application of being able to use our brains to become the alpha.
Okay, yeah.
If we're one-on-one with any other animal, there's going to be a fucking ton of animals that can just donkey us, right?
Yeah.
But we have figured out how to become the alphas by building these civilizations where it's like, dude, if a bear was down the street, that bear ain't making it out probably, Or we're going to relocate it. Like, hey, this ain't your habitat anymore. We're taking over the planet in, like, such a gluttonous fashion. Yeah, like,
though.
We take and don't give back, and there are situations where we're doing our best to give back, and I applaud you guys.
It's just not everybody. Yeah. It's not it's not what us as humans have developed. We've developed this idea of, like, this is what we can do, so therefore we're going to do.
We're the great disruptors,
bro.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Of the world. I mean, like, other things happen, and, like, say, like, a bear eats a fucking mountain lion, and then it shits in the woods. Yeah. That shit is gonna help whatever grow.
Yeah. 100%.
And then that bear is eventually gonna die and feed another animal. Yeah. It's like all that happens, but we're like, let's kill all the animals. Let's make plastic that kills all the fish.
Bro, like that. That
I'm
energy that comes
no like
from
globalist or whatever you want to call it. I'm just like, that is an observation.
It's true. It's very much true.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like at the end of everything, we could even talk about related to that is just us as humans fucking up, literally just fucking up, because as soon as we put a word to it, like we're like, oh, that's the way, that's the way it is. And I feel like we stop learning at that point. That could be, science, religion, politics, whatever, you know what I mean? Just, nope, I've stopped here. I'm done. And this is my side. This is where I'm at. Yeah. This is my identity.
Ego.
Bro, man, say it again.
It's fucking tough, bro.
It's so tough.
Dude,
it's so tough.
That's why, like, the concept of, like, psychedelics and stuff like that, where they say you experience ego death. Mm-hmm. I want to know what ego death feels like. I don't think I have a huge ego at all. But everybody has an ego, whether you like to admit it or not. You do absolutely. Because it's like, maybe some days I'll cut our grass here, and I'm like, ain't nobody's lawn look like this.
So I'm saying,
that's a good-looking lawn.
Yeah.
That's ego.
Yeah.
Or I could be like, why the fuck is nobody else doing dishes? That's my ego speaking.
So that's very much part of the human experience, though.
Yes.
And that's where we can start, where we start experiencing emotions from is all internal. You know what I mean? Ego is internal. Your thoughts are internal. Your struggle is internal. Honestly, like all the stuff is within you. So as soon as I feel like even directing thought towards that, you start looking at it in a perspective of what for, who is this for, what is this for, and
is this honest with yourself?
And honesty, man, at the end of the day, I feel like that it's not even like, I feel like honesty is like true ethical honesty, back to humans like taking more than like we need in those regards, where you look at nature is balance, as above is below, where there is an imbalance, right now, that's like, just kind of shifting in the ways that it needs to, because nature will correct itself, it's just it's that way, because that's just how things are. However, I feel it's that taking, that dishonest, you know what I mean? Just egotistical, like it's all about us. The count, that's one side, and the counter is like to destroy that. Like it's in the weirdest way. Like that's
I feel like ego's a lot of take, and then when you
it's all
have
take.
Less. Yeah.
How can I take?
Yeah.
How can I feed this? How can I
build this up? What pedestal can I, or how high can I get this pedestal? And then the opposite of that is like, I feel like thinking about it, the opposite of ego, I think, is love. And like, how can you give?
Yes.
Because when you truly love, there is no bounds to what you want to give, to show. And like, if you truly love, I feel like it's not based off of what you get out of love.
Yeah.
It's based off of how you can add to something or someone. Instagram, like social media is both good and bad.
Yeah.
But there is very good shit on social media. There's this preacher, and I'm really gonna fuck up what he said, but he was talking to his congregation, and he was like, love. What did he say? Like, he was saying like a few lines, and you're like going with him, and you're like, I know where this is gonna go. And then he said one line, and you're like, I did not see that coming like that. He was like, when you love, you don't want something or something. Fuck, dude. And I don't even know how I'm gonna find this, but I have.
Is it like the Bible verse?
No. He's like he's
just
freestyling.
Yeah.
He's just like talking, dude, and he is fucking saying some shit.
So I feel that's awesome. Like and that's, man, I feel like that message is across every single religion ever. You know what I mean? Like it's to love unconditionally.
God,
find it. Did you save it?
I don't know if this is it. And I feel like I'm gonna like. I'm just gonna let me hear it real quick. From 9/11, this is like. No, it was 9/11. What the hell was that? No. Oh fuck! And it's like, how do you Google that without sounding?
Nah, it ain't gonna work.
It's gonna
forever.
come out.
It's gone
bad,
forever.
Bro. I should have really sent it to myself. But he's basically saying like, if you truly love, you don't want for you.
Yeah.
You want for what you love to be like.
Yeah. You exist in a way that I feel you exist in a way that is for just not you. You know, I can speak with the perspective of being a father in that regard. And I can as a husband, as a brother, as a son, these are people I care about, my friends, these are people I care about and that I truly love and would do anything for. And it's never with, you know what I mean? You see stuff where it's like, a social media post is attached to everything, and it's like, bro, like, I mean, like,
it's good to remember somebody, but it's like sometimes it feels like, well, you never said anything when they were alive or when they couldn't do anything for you, but you said something when they could add value to you. So, like, say, and we'll get to where we're going with this, but like stuff, something happened. Like, for example, this is a very relatable thing. Juice WRLD died. Yeah. No, like, not a lot of... I mean, people were praising him when he was around, but Lil Peep is a better one. Nobody talked really about Lil Peep. He
felt way more once he...
Dude, people were getting fucking face tattoos. Emo girls were crying, falling off the fucking face of the earth over this. And I think he did amazing work while he was here. But, of course, I didn't know him as much. Yeah. Until after he passed and all his music was circulated or recirculated more heavily, and I was like, "Oh damn, this was pretty good." Fuck, he's dead. Yeah, like not even realizing like the reason I'm hearing it now is because he died. Because they're like probably a cash grab, but it's like everybody's streaming this now. Yeah, like Juice WRLD was already one of the top streamers in the world, and then I think all his like earlier albums went #1 for a while. And then like almost on a routine basis, whenever like the anniversary of Mac Miller's death happens, his albums go #1. Because cultural icon, like I feel like he expresses a lot of the feelings that we've felt. Yeah. Like you feel like you can feel love. You can feel super down. You can feel everywhere in between, and he expresses that in his music. But that's just an example of, like, when these people passed away, or Nipsey Hussle. I know this is all music, but, like it's super relevant with music. When somebody in music dies, everybody and their mom posts about these people like they're related to this person. And it's like, but you guys were not doing this when they were alive.
It's again just they're being sad. They're being sad. It's like
but then they're gaining something from it, and everybody's gonna be like, "Are you okay?" It's not and then it's like, is it about that person? If it's really about that person, just connect with that person on your level. You don't need everybody in the world to know.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah,
that's ego. It's fucking tough.
It's way tough, man. And you just gotta. I feel. So as we're here, like we're able to have all of these emotions and think about all these emotions, and honestly, like the fact that we get to do it it like that alone is special. If you really look at, I feel like life, in terms of or even just energy and frequency, like a tree incarnate on the ground, like you said, that the bear that shits in the woods, that's a plant that's using that as fertilizer, you know what I mean? Yeah. Who's using the sun, nuclear reactions on the sun's surface to grow here on Earth, I see that connection between everything, and we can honestly find parallels between religions and spirituality, but I feel as soon as you start identifying it is where humans fuck it up. You know what I mean? That's where ego takes over. Even into science, you know, where an educated individual feels educated only because of, you know, their ego. Because they've deemed the information that they've remembered thus far as something to, you know, to hold them to a higher standard, and that you should be viewed at a higher standard. Like, I mean, it's ego, bro. At the end of the day, I feel like it's all just ego. So stepping back from all that, as like, we are able to be here and we look for individuality, and we're like, okay, well, individuality is ego. Well, it's okay. So maybe that's bad. And we start feeling all these different emotions and anger and, you know, stuff like that, you know, where our external starts affecting our internal. We need to, like, as we're feeling these things, like, to evaluate, like, what's causing it is only going to direct you to, like, what needs attention. You know what I mean? So then once you figure out, like, what needs that attention, it's your job to then ultimately redirect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Direct it in a way that is not something that is a holdback. You need to let it go.
Not detrimental. You need it to be a benefit that you found what needs attention, and you provide that for it.
And with the idea of what's the most, like, selfless kind of way that I can honestly go about dealing with this. Yeah. If this is my wife, my wife or a friend that's pissed me off, you know, we want to. Significant others are really easy to kind of to let those emotions kind of, like, elevate a little higher. However, it's your significant others that you should be the first one that make you want to redirect the emotions you're feeling. Yeah. And then, if, you know what I mean, if it is something that, like, they're doing that's like, oh, you keep doing this and it's like, it's driving me crazy, you know what I mean? Like, maybe they don't even know they're doing it. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't even know that, like, it's such a trigger point for you or something like that. Maybe your reaction is a trigger point for them. Like, that can only happen with communication, and communication can really only occur if, you know, one person, if they're open. Yeah. The way you can open up is through love, through wanting to kill your own ego and be like, okay, what do I need to do? What needs to occur for this person's, like, universe to not be shitty? Because I'm very much part of their environment. A cliche is that you don't blame a plant that doesn't grow on the plant. You blame it on its environment. You know what I mean? Its pot wasn't big enough. It didn't get enough water. It didn't get enough sun. You know what I'm saying? So, like, so you use nature as a blueprint in that regard, where it doesn't need an answer. It doesn't need to be a specific thing. It doesn't need to be a strict guideline. It's like, is this for me or is it for somebody else? Yeah. And, like, you can really... I feel like I've had success looking at my emotions, looking at what I'm feeling, and at least, like, being able to communicate through them with the people that they involve. And then if it is just me, I'm being like, hey, sometimes it'd be like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just really try to honestly take that step back, you know? Yeah.
And you know what is absolutely wild about this conversation about ego is that it also has greatly benefited the human race, at least, having ego. Because there have been some amazing things come from ego. Like, technology pushed forward because of ego. Oh, fucking Motorola came out with phones. I think I can do it better. Apple came out.
So there's, like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that push the generations forward. It may not be for everybody and be great for everyone. Conor McGregor, ego, became the most popular UFC fighter of all time.
It's rewarded.
MMA.
It's rewarded.
Yeah.
In an environment where it's rewarded, it will prosper. Very much so. You know what I mean? And it's it's again, it's the environment that it's in. It's gonna go unchecked if it can continue.
Conor's huge on that.
Like, you know what I mean?
So
that's ultimately where it begins. You know what I mean? If you relate it to, you know, a couple arguing, you know, and somebody says, well, that's just the way I am. You know, you've immediately like stopped growing in my eyes. Like, have you stopped? Are you just done? Like, that's it?
That's just who you are.
That's just who you are? Come on, man. Like, I almost expect, like, I feel like I expect more out of humanity because, like, I look at people as so capable of doing anything they can honestly do.
Yeah. But it takes that openness. I've met so many people where I'm like, dude, you are so beautiful in so many ways. And then in so many ways, like, you're closed off and you just I know it can happen because I see the glimpses in other areas of your life. And I'm like, how can you be so accepting and so open in this way? And then just so like, just counter off. That. Yeah. So for lack of a better word, hypocritical. Like, you'll want that perspective. Like, you'll want somebody to be open about something, but then you won't be about something that is maybe not equal, but like within perspective the same.
So I think in that, it's survival skills too. Like our trauma experiences obviously, you know, dictate the survival skills and the defense mechanisms that we build up over time, which, you know, that is what fuels these arguments. That is that's just the way I am. You know, those are those traits. But it's the openness to like you said, to look at yourself and say, okay, where can I improve? And I feel like I can improve every day.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of where I'm at mentally, where I'm not ever going to be like done. I don't want to be done learning. Like, and I feel like if I say that I'm done, you know, that's
growing.
That's the day you start to die. You know what I mean? Honestly, like, that's just.
It's also really beautiful about like growth and everything is that it's not like computable. It's not a number. And so you can never be 100.
It doesn't need to be though.
Yeah, like, because everything in growing is fluid. It's like you can feel this way about something and then feel completely different about it, and neither way is wrong.
No.
Like, I think you expressed this the other day when we were rolling. Yeah. You were like, what you're feeling isn't necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's how you feel.
Man.
Maybe your perspective can be a little better, but you're not wrong. So it's what you feel.
So you actually said something like this when I first moved here and we first started kicking it, that I'll touch on in a sec, but Serena had first mentioned when we had began our relationship, you know, something that stuck with me to this day, where it was like, why does one person have to be wrong? You know what I mean? Why does one person need to be wrong in this scenario? Okay. And it's like, if it's a matter of either we were supposed to turn this way and we actually turned this way and there's no other way so it's like, okay, but at that point it's like,
someone's rider.
It you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, that stuff is silly. And like, if it goes beyond that moment, like, again, that's the emotions tied to it. Like, whatever's going on within the world. But you had said something too, where you had mentioned just like, no matter what some person's like worst experience in their life has been, like, to this date, is no matter whether it's like me, you know, something that may have happened like overseas, or, you know, somebody who's never gone through stuff like that, and just, you know, the worst thing that's happened to them is, you know, their car got stolen. Yeah.
The perspective I have is the worst thing that's ever happened to someone is always the worst thing that's ever happened to them.
Yes.
Doesn't mean it's the worst thing that could ever happen. Yes. It's just that's the worst that they know can happen.
So that was one of the very first things that I was like, yo, like, perspective is honestly, like...
It's crazy. Another groundbreaking one that I always think about is, this sounds so much simpler than what it's going to sound like when I say it, but it is crazy what people get used to.
Yeah.
Think about that. Mm-hmm. Like, there's people that grow up and this is not to knock any culture, but there's people that grow up that just make sounds for language. There's people that grow up in
That's all English is,
multi-billion-dollar lifestyles.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective. Maybe that multi-billionaire is unhappy or happy.
Exactly.
Maybe the people living in mud huts are happy or unhappy. Maybe I'm happy or unhappy, and I'm living like a very average lifestyle.
What is real richness?
Yeah, it's like here's another great one that I cannot for the life of me ever remember who the fuck said this to me, or if I heard it somewhere or what. But
it's Instagram.
This was before Instagram.
Oh,
I remember this
right.
because this was like MySpace days.
Okay.
When I found this advice. It's not always who you meet in life. It's where you meet them in life. Mm-hmm. Like, we click because we met each other at the right time.
Yeah, man.
I'm not saying I wouldn't like you, but I'm saying, like, maybe there is a version of you in time in the past that I might not have liked. And
probably.
And same with me.
Probably. 100%.
But it's like, also in other ways, like, maybe you meet somebody and you're exactly what they needed in that moment for them to start or restart their growth. So maybe they're at a low point and you gave them that little and it got them going. And maybe you're just in their life for 2 weeks, or yo bud, try a smile. Here's $5, go get a drink. Maybe it's something like that and it kicks them in the right direction. Like, for example, we had our buddy Dalton on, and I just said this on the last podcast, but it's so like prolific. He was in New Orleans for a show or something, right? And I think he was with his wife. They had to go 3 blocks. He, at the time, I think was like 450 pounds. Oh, he got an Uber for 3 blocks. Okay. The Uber picked him up and was like, dude, this is only 3 blocks. Are you sure?
Yeah.
That kickstarted his weight loss.
Hey.
It's something like that person, he doesn't know that person. Can't even find it on his Uber records. Yeah. It was a throwaway for that guy. Like, or that girl. I don't even know. I don't even know if he remembers if it was a guy or girl, but it was like a throwaway where person was just like, are you sure?
His life changed.
Yeah, it clicked in his head. Like, the reason he even wanted the Uber was he didn't want to sweat. And that's for 3 blocks of a walk. And it's like, wow. And it clicked on him and he's like, this is fucking embarrassing. Like, what am I doing? Now, bro is like, I wouldn't call him a bodybuilder, but bro is bodied up.
Yeah.
Like, takes care of himself. Like, he's sponsored by Rise, like supplement company. Mm-hmm. He goes to the Summer Shred events. He's sponsored by Young LA. Dang. Like, all these things. He changed his fucking life.
He changed his life.
He changed his life. Like,
that's it.
He took something that happened to him and he's like, I'm not going to settle for this anymore. And part of that, I'm not going to settle for this anymore, is ego. Like, yo, I let myself down. I can definitely be better than this. I think in moderation, you can use anything for your benefit or your detriment. So, like, you can use the little bits of, like, I know I can be better than this.
So I feel within that, you know, it's
when people live and ride and die off that ego is when it's like, what the fuck?
So unfortunately, health of the human body, like, plays a real role in actual, like,
oh yeah, in your mental health,
in your day-to-day life, in every aspect of your day-to-day life. So I mean, lifestyle has a lot to do with it. This is obviously, like, based off of a weight loss topic. Yeah. You know, somebody could say, like, gaining flexibility, you know, is like the lifestyle change they needed, or, like, you know, hip strengthening stuff is like Pilates is the lifestyle, CrossFit is the lifestyle change they needed,
or to be able to sleep all the way through a night.
And so I feel like that's the first step, though, is honestly, like, realizing you're almost, again, that you're not a victim. You know what I mean? That you're not a victim to your environment. That you're not going to play like a oh poor me card anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's an easy place for us to get into as humans in a modern day society, like, with everything that we have available to us. You know, the comforts that are, you know, around.
It's unbelievably convenient for everything right now,
bro, and
the most it's ever been.
Yeah, and it'll be even more tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know. So that's it. It's deciding, though, that within that this world that you are capable. You have like a power to actually like change your perspective.
Yeah. To turn being a victim into being a victor.
Exactly, bro.
That's huge.
That's massive.
It like, I know it sounds like it's a play on words and shit like that, but it really is just taking that switch and flipping it on and being like, I believe this can be better. Like, they always, like, I'm not throwing my dad under the bus at all, but he very much plays into my life sucks because he just thinks like it can never get better again. Yeah. It's just always downhill from here on out because he has back problems and his legs go numb. He's been drinking his whole fucking life.
Yeah.
And he refuses to stop. Mm-hmm. He goes to the doctors and they're like, this is just how you're going to feel from now on. And they're like, we're almost tempted to take you completely off medication so you can just feel all the pain so you're aware of the condition you're in. And I'm like, and there's nothing you can do about it? And he's like, no, this is how it is from now on. I'm like, you can't walk a little more. Drinking. Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's a lost cause now. So until he wants to do that, it's gone.
So I feel like that's it. You know what I mean? Like, so within your, you know, perspective of that situation, you have like this want to obviously like help. Yes. You know, to obviously like kind of paint a picture, at least for him, but like it's for one in no way your obligation. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you need to at least...
I'm obligated because I want a father.
Well, but anybody needs to free themselves from that and realize that for one, it's their own responsibility. Yes. It's their own life. It's their own perspective. And honestly, like that may be their only answer. Like I had an alcoholic father and he passed away 16 years ago. It'll be 16 years here soon, which is crazy to think about because maybe, you know, looking back to that, next year he'll be gone longer than he was there in my life.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for a perspective, you know, my life? Do I look back at the time he was there and like things were shitty as being really, really, really bad? Like, I guess, I mean, again, like to understand your own like perspective and to understand that everybody else has their own, it's like you almost need to value theirs and like let it be theirs.
It's tough because I do appreciate the fact that this is his truth and this is what he thinks.
Yeah.
And I do understand, like, you got to let people live with what they have done.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want him to know, like, bro, everybody, there's a few things that I like to teach when I do teach jiu-jitsu. And that's the yet mentality. Mm-hmm. Like, you always come across a student that's like, I don't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
You don't know how to do it yet.
You just ain't been told.
None of us knew how to do any of this at one point.
For sure.
And then we were like, we got past that yet point.
Yeah.
And guess what? Now we can do it. You think, and this is every white belt's perspective. They always think every coach is the fucking best coach in the world. And, well, guess what? Every one of those coaches didn't know they didn't even know how to walk at one point.
Yes.
Didn't know how to eat.
Bro.
Sucking on a titty, dude.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, bro, what are you talking about, right? And I'm like, you just don't know it yet. And I told this to one of the students at Panacea. I was like, you just don't know it yet. Mm-hmm. And then, because I was like, man, I just hit him with some knowledge. Just smacked the shit out of him with some knowledge, right? And then he hit me back with something that he was throwing away.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most prolific things I ever heard. And he said, time takes time.
It does, man.
I was like, holy shit. That was so heavy. That, I tell my dad, I'm like, time takes time, dude. Like, as humans, we fall into this mindset of what we feel right now. Like, here's an example. I have bad teeth pain right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm waiting for my insurance at my new job to kick in so I don't just have to pay crazy money to get some stuff done.
Yeah.
But I feel that pain, and in my head, that's forever now.
Yeah,
that's just the mentality of a human. You think, oh, dude, you experience an injury, your knee's tweaked or something, and you're like, well, this is...
Oh, yeah, I was bummed when I hurt my back. I was bummed.
Yeah, you're like, well, I don't even know if this will ever go away.
Yeah,
you're like, this is just how I feel now.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my dad has fallen under.
Yeah.
He believes that what he feels like right now, Bro, there's people that have come back from way worse than what you're experiencing physically, and some people don't get into the best shape of their life till they're 80. Till they're 90.
That still may be the best shape of their life. Yes. If they spent their life to that point.
Yes.
Not being capable of certain things. That might be the
happiest they ever get, too.
Exactly.
You might not... Like, my dad's, 56 now? 56, 7? Something like that. You might not be at your peak yet.
Yeah.
Maybe physically you're at your peak in your past, but mentally you might not be yet. Maybe you're not... You haven't unlocked some things.
You haven't ever been disciplined before. You haven't ever said no to a beer before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the self...
What does that do for you?
Yes.
Have you tried that ever?
If we're being honest with ourselves, I do attribute that in my mind. Like, I have an issue with food. And I'm like, I have an issue with food because my dad has an addiction problem. When really... I shouldn't blame other people for the issue I have.
Yeah.
I just saw a habit and I never fixed it myself.
You saw it. So that's part of it too. Like we look back to all these like childhood traumas and stuff like that, but those were our only examples.
Yeah.
If those were our only examples, like they did the best that they could, and like that was just the best that we had. Like, and in no way, shape, or form do I need to look at any of that as a setback. You don't need to look at any of that as a setback. People in my life who I can say the same thing, just unfortunately are just moving. They're at a rate that you'd love to see them a little bit farther along. However, it's the best they can do.
Yeah.
And within that mindset, you're already approaching the situation with love. You're already starting to look at it a little bit differently, where like I appreciate your perspective of like why you think this is the only option. I'm going to be here as at least an example for you of like, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm going to tell you there's other ways. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to show you there's other ways. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to mention these things. I'm going to at least make you think of this thing, because like planting a seed is sometimes undeniable, undeniable, like lifestyle change spark. What happened to Buddy with the cab, like, or with the Uber?
Yeah,
that's just, he didn't even like. It was a small seed, maybe he probably meant it in a completely different like financial regard.
Yeah,
but it was something small that like grew into something else.
Yeah, that's also prolific. It's perspective on how you hear things, exactly, and how you take things.
Yeah,
and it's like people are like, it's not what you said, it's how you say it.
No, that's ego. You need to be receptive. You need to listen. You need to be like, okay, well, yes, that person also, how they said it, is their learned behaviors. Yeah. How their parents talk to them. You know what I mean? Like, okay, hold on. You know what I mean? Like we can. What are you trying to say? Because at the end of the day, I just want to understand you, and I just want to be understood.
Yeah.
And like, I don't need you to understand. I want all these things from you. I want you to understand that I actually want like the best for what's for you, and like I want to help facilitate that. So please help me facilitate what you need for communication, like, and where we can take communication to facilitate understanding, like that it goes so far, but it needs to constantly be worked on. And to say that, okay, we've made it, you immediately fuck up. To say we're done, to not done as in split, but to say we're done as in we're done learning, we're done like expanding what our potential actually is, you fucked up.
Yeah,
100%. You've stopped.
It's tough, dude, because so many things happen that you want an explanation for, or you feel like you deserve, and it's not always like that. Like when I can tell you, there's a few people in my life I love literally unconditional, no matter what happens, because I want what's best for them, even if what's best for them isn't me.
Yeah.
Because what's best for them is not always going to be you included, and that's driven by like your self-centeredness of like, I can be maybe you're what's holding them back.
Maybe.
Maybe you're not, or maybe not, you're the reason they're being held back, but you're not helping them be who they need to be. Like,
especially if they haven't, like, in a long time experienced, like, a situation without you. You know what I mean? Or, like, where they really, like, need that perspective again and be like,
need that true growth
this
by
is
themselves.
Chill. Yeah, this is fine. Like, man, and it can come from anything, but, like, that's the connection again. That's where comfort comes from, and that's the ego. That's me not needing to fight for this. It's mine. Like, it's here. Like, it's what I deserve. You know what I mean? Like you said, like, sometimes we feel like we deserve an explanation.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not for us to even want.
You know what I call that? Deservism.
And
I use that differently in my own life, and I use it food related. I feel like I work hard as fuck. We did that roll. And then I went to the sauna and I did like a recovery, like sauna hot tub pool. And I did that twice. And then the next day I did the CrossFit hero workout. And then I did the sauna pool hot tub thing again. And I was like, anytime I feel like I've worked really hard, I feel like I deserve some bad food. That's terrible. That's a terrible mindset. Not always bad food or just more good food, right?
I mean...
But I've been dealing with this my whole life, so it's a little worse for me, I think. You're ripped. You have a great God body.
So that stuff, all, like, literally that kind of stuff aside, I feel like that's not necessarily like something bad, like, about, like, you. It's just kind of like one of the things that you've found you've enjoyed. You know what I mean? Like,
but I feel like
you're trying to find a justification for.
Yeah,
like, you're trying to search for a justification.
Deservism, I think, is when you feel like you deserve something before you deserve it.
I got you.
That's deservism for me. I created that word. That's the definition.
Put it on the wall. Across the top. The fucking dictionary definition, the pronunciation.
Dude, I have created terrible habits. I feel like I don't string enough good things along before I give myself that treat of like, yo, you deserve this part. Truly. I don't ever... I'll string, like, when I used to cut weight for jiu-jitsu, like, I'd be super disciplined then. But then I got out of hand and I was so afraid of losing, and then I stopped competing. And now I've gotten so far away from that weight. Like, that weight was, like, low 180s, 179-ish.
Yeah.
Like, right now I'm, like, 195. Like, doesn't seem like a lot, but... I don't know. I'll string together like a good few weeks, and then I'll be around people that want like burgers and donuts, and I'm like, why not? Deservism. And like I'm just like, and I'll get off the rails, and then I'm like, tomorrow I'm like, bro, let's just stay in and get pizza, and then it's like you see what I'm saying? It gets out of hand.
I got you.
I have addiction type problems, but it's only with food. It's I don't give a shit about liquor. I don't give a shit about drugs. I don't give a shit about, like, fucking hookers or anything.
It fulfills something. It fulfills something. It definitely, and it has at a certain point, and you're like, that just needs to
honestly, I attach it so closely to comfort. So, like, I experience very little intimate moments with my mother, and those moments were always centered around food. So we would, like, she'd be gone all day.
Yeah.
If I got to see her. So if I was over at my nanny's house and she would just be gone all day, and then she would come to my nanny's house at night, and we would share like ice cream together while we watched Sex in the City or a movie or something. Yeah. Or we would share popcorn together while we're doing the same thing. It's like those moments I got to be close to her and experience that. So like I think that has something to do with like the connection of me feeling good when I eat food. I also eat it when I feel bad. So it's like I haven't fully flushed that idea out, if that is why.
So I think too, like, not to mention just the level of comfort, but like, what was the environment like otherwise? You know what I mean? Like, when that was a comfortable environment for you, like, where was it not comfortable?
I mean, everything wasn't comfortable until that moment.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where it more just paints a picture of a win.
Really good thing.
Just when, you know, why was this such an important like thing to you? Why did it feel so good? Because everything was in chaos. Like like
that was really heavy what you just said, though.
Thanks, man. No, like,
I mean, I've never thought about it like that. I just thought like it was my mom.
So like the thing in the terms
not
of like,
thinking I was so unhappy with all that other shit, waiting for her to get there, if she would even get there, and then when she got there, I was like,
bro, like the thing about like like these learned behaviors, like you see the actual example of it, and then like you also develop your own survival skills. Like the perspective of somebody like saying like I'm an empath, like I can relate to people, I feel what other people feel. There's a thought that comes from a traumatic situation where there was a volatile individual within the person's life, and that they needed to constantly assess, how is this person feeling? Yeah. What environment am I living in? Because my environment is solely based off of how this individual is feeling at the given moment. If they're, if they beat their kids when they're mad, you know what I mean? It's going to be a bad day. If they drink when they're mad, you start looking at those things. You start looking at just, again, the surrounding, and you develop these survival skills, these things that like do feel good in these moments of chaos that like, okay, I can make it. You know what I mean? I can, it's not sad looking back, you know what I mean? And you don't need to look at that. Nobody needs to look back at those things of like, oh, I've developed this trait because everything was so bad. Again, it's just, you look back and say, okay, that's just what it was, man. Like, and now I can maybe look at, you maybe look at eating food as well, how can I feel comfortable in another way? You know what I mean? What else makes me comfortable? You know what I mean?
Working out absolutely does it. That's why I'm so busy with like physical activity, CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, like biking, running, like doing anything like that. What you were just saying made me really think about something, because we always think about like, there's like physical specimens like LeBron James or like Usain Bolt or like Tom Brady. Like maybe they have a skill set that is top 1%.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom Brady isn't like physically, like he isn't crazy looking, but
yeah,
he's got an IQ like
for sure.
You ever think like maybe people are born mentally like phenomenal? Like, because you're built with physical traits that grow over time. Maybe there's people that are born that, like, are just mentally tougher right off rip, and they just develop even better over time, like at a young age. And maybe it's not necessarily what they go through, and maybe those people are, like, motivational speakers. Like, have you ever heard of Eric Thomas?
Yeah, I feel like I've heard his
the
name,
preacher.
That guy. Yeah.
I don't know if he's actually
good.
a preacher, but he does a lot of motivational speeches, and it's like, he says shit, like, I listen to them at work when I'm, like, doing my thing, and I'm like, it'll make you want to run through a wall, and it makes you feel like you can be so much better than you are, and it's not that he's telling you that you're weak.
No.
He's telling you that you gotta want it.
You're capable.
You owe you.
Yeah.
It's up to, like, all this is on you, so it's like, if you're okay with your life, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Be okay, like, you're good.
And it will not change if you don't change it.
Yes.
It will remain the same. That's a given. Nobody is coming to save you, like, in that regard where
nobody's coming to save you. That is so heavy, people don't understand that. It's
not, again, a poor me situation. Yeah. It is never a poor me situation. In every single way, it can be as empowering as you want it to be. And like, I am capable. I can make a decision to literally change my life at any given moment. I can focus my energy in any place I see fit. And if that, if that ego at the time is essentially fueling it, you know what I mean? You may need to, like, you may learn some stuff along that way still, but like, you need to be open to it. If you are open to it, I feel like eventually the ego will die. Yeah. You know what I mean? As soon as you stop being open to it, that's the ego. It's going to live on forever. You know what I mean?
This is literally the name of your company.
Bro, it's
everything
there
about life, man. Is so crazy. It's like we're all living this for the first time.
We don't have the answers, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a fuck around game.
Unless you believe in like this is a stimulation or simulation or whatever. Stimulation. It definitely can be.
Hey,
but we're all living this for the first time, so we're all like, I was watching this like 80-year-old lady comic, and she's like talking about being at a nursing home, and she said the word fuck or something, and her friend Gladys was like, Barbara, whatever her fucking name was like, Barbara, we don't say that at our age. And she goes, bitch, I ain't never been 80 before.
I love it.
It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Dude, exactly.
Exactly,
You've
bro.
never been where you're at in life before, ever.
So I'm like, there is no fucking blueprint, bro. Like, I looked at running my companies, as I could 100% look at things that have come before me, but who's telling me that that's the right way to do things? Yeah. You know what I mean? For one, what is that? You know, where is that coming from? Is that like a legit person? Like, this is the way to go? No. You know what I mean? And if it was, what is that? I can look at that as like, and take it with a grain of salt and be like, hey, cool, man. Like, that's your perspective. I appreciate it. Yeah. You know, again, appreciating what's around you for what it is. And if it does not need to be anything more, you know what I mean? I don't, as you were asking me how Serena and I were working with window cleaning and stuff like that. Like,
like how are you guys falling into the roles that you guys are? Because you're ultimately gonna fall into grooves. So
in a parallel, like with that and life, like there is no. I don't need to make it a certain way. I feel like if anything, I feel like tradition and culture and everything surrounding that, like, it just confuses people. It just makes it creates that environment for the ego. You know what I mean? It's that I'm right. I'm right in my set of beliefs. You know, it just doesn't foster that environment for growth. And in order to grow, you need to be able to just do things and mess up and have it not be a mess up. You know what I mean? Have it not be wrong in your mind. Just have it be a learning experience where, like, okay, I see that doesn't work the way I thought it was going, like I intended it to.
Yeah.
Like, if you do that with like integrity and like good ethics, where you're not trying to like hurt people and you're not going behind people's backs and you're not doing like sneaky shit on the, you know, like where it's not like, you know, something secret, you know, that will, I feel like those properly motivated things will honestly thrive. They have like no choice but to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it really has no choice but to. If I'm like, if like, as even as far as like giving a homeless person money, like if you feel that compelled to, like, it could potentially change that person's life. It could be a miracle that person has been praying for. You know what I mean? Everything in their life then is confirmed.
And that could,
bro,
and I hate to say this and be so cliche, but that could be like a butterfly effect,
bro.
That could just like, bro, yo, maybe they like were praying for food came in a car, and then they're like, I believe now.
Exactly. And then that
just
like steers them on a course, like, but they need to be open, for one, like, as kids, as you were saying, like, kids maybe are more. Actually, I feel like every single kid is more like intellectually capable at that particular moment in their life than I am in my current moment, due to the fact that they haven't been corrupted yet. Yeah. Like, they come out loving everything, everybody, every touch, every feel. Like, I just want to do, and like it's the when, like, if you've ever played, like, if you've ever played with something like that wasn't there, like if you had an imagination at all as a kid, like, you're capable of accomplishing anything. Personally, like, I feel like it stems from somewhere, you know. And as soon as like that gets limited, and it's like, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. Like, that's your downfall. You know what I mean? And it's like, I can't do this stuff. Well, what can I do? Well, I'm this. And then like you find like you just build up like these survival skills to kind of to maintain within this framework that's really just been projected around you. It's
kind of like you're a horse with blinders. You're only told you can do what's right here in front of you. When you take them blinders off and you can start to look around,
and that's in
you. But you started off with no blinders on, and then
None.
they started to do this.
None. Everything
like,
was capable. You were capable of anything.
Yeah.
Everything was possible.
It's tough. I feel like that's why when you start off as a child athlete, that you have greater potential, because you don't start off based off of fear. As an adult, you start off, or say like mid-teenager and on, I feel like you start off, you're like, oh, I could hurt my back, or that kid's bigger than me. When you're a little kid, you'll play with anybody. It doesn't matter. Like, when you're a little kid and you're in jiu-jitsu competitions, they don't give a shit that they're going against somebody that's 2 or 3 pounds heavier, but the parents do.
Yeah,
the parents are like, whoa, we can't let that. Yo, coach, what's going on here? It's like, yeah, but
that's not what it's about.
Yeah, it's
never what
it's about the experience of the kids going through potential adversity, having fun with it. Exactly. When you're putting all this pressure on a little kid, they're like, well, I thought this is supposed to be fun. Mm-hmm. Let them do the pressure.
I want to climb this tree. Oh,
you could break
don't
your
do that.
neck.
Don't you could break your neck. Well, it's
you
like,
could
well,
be
not
there
if
to
you're
catch them.
It's like,
that's different.
Don't do it. You could break your neck. Telling them don't do it, you could break your neck, is way different than telling them like, all right, well, be careful, because hey, that one looks a little sketchy. Maybe feel it and see if you think it'll break. You know what I mean? Just give them a little insight. That
is such a different approach,
bro. It
goes from talent, like being completely unsupportive and maybe detrimental to potential growth.
Yeah.
To then being like, hey, I'm going to be here along the way.
So, and that's that self-confidence, man. And that self-confidence through like teenage years is going to be what's ultimately going to be that guiding light. You know what I mean? What path are they honestly going to go down? It's going to be the ones that are, unsure and not as confident in these things to try certain things, do certain things. And it's like, well, to fill certain voids, you know what I mean? Whereas a self-confident person could say like, okay, well, I know what I'm about. I've kind of established like where my head is at, and I can evaluate things at a level where I can see if they're really, if I'm vibing with it or not. You know what I mean? And to foster that, like, you immediately like you show them what they're capable of. You show kids what like that what humans are honestly capable of, and like in every single way, like trying to propel that forward throughout like adulthood. It's just like what we live in, again, it restricts that, it stops us from seeing that, it puts blinders on us, and we quit trying to learn, or we make excuses for things like alcohol, where it's like, we know it's a poison. It's a poison. You know what I mean? But like, we'll make an excuse for it. It makes you feel better. It's the only thing that makes me feel better. Well, why not? Well, have you tried this? I've tried everything. You haven't tried everything, because like that's not the only thing that makes you feel better. I promise you that. Like, a lot of things make me feel better. So it's not our responsibility, though, again, it's not our obligation to make anybody else see these things. It's about just them experiencing life their own way, me appreciating their perspective and where they're at, what they've been through, what they see in terms of their outlook on the world and their outlook on me. Like, I respect it 100% for what it is. And I love every individual for that, in that regard, because we are just trying to do the best we can. You know what I mean? There is no blueprint, and as soon as we start trying to create one is where humans fuck up.
Yeah, because not everybody is the same. Like,
politics, rules, religion, law, like modern society, like, honestly, like, what's more beautiful? Like I don't know, a fat politician in like massive marble buildings, or like an eagle in the wild? Like, is society the best thing? I don't, that it raises those questions, but you need to be able, you can't let the conversation stop there. You can't say, no, society is better. Boom. Fuck you.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's always got to be an open conversation.
I feel like that
has to be.
And that's, as soon as we stop listening, it reduces our capacity. And
Absolutely.
like, that's it. You know what I mean? You gotta be open to it. You gotta be open to what's around you. And that is up for whatever that person's interpretation is. If they choose to see something and interpret it as like a sign from God, amazing, wonderful. Like that's honestly like a miracle in your world. Like if you choose to say it is somebody who's passed, like why can it not be? Why can it not be all of these things? All of these things simultaneously, like because it truly is. In that person's head it is. In my head it is something else. And so it's like within that person's world it is that. Like and there's nothing that says it. I need to change what that is. You know what I mean? It's when people start saying, "Oh, well, it's that," and people are like, "Well, no," and they're like, "Well, it really is because I know." That's again where we fuck up. You know, it's easy for humans to fuck up because we just wanna name everything. We want to say that this is this, and I know what this is, and like I have the answer. We don't know shit. Not at the end of the day, we don't know shit.
Yeah.
Like we're literally figuring it out. We're experiencing our emotions.
It's a lifestyle experiment.
But baby,
It's
that's all it
fucking
is,
tough,
baby.
dude.
That's all it is, man.
Before we get out of here, I did want to bring up that story that you were telling me that man. So interlocked to one another. And we rolled Saturday.
Yeah.
And
Sunday,
then or Sunday, sorry.
Yeah.
And then you told me beforehand, you told me this story about some butterflies you were going through.
Yeah.
And then you told me something afterwards that connected to that. And today at work, I sent you a video of this butterfly that would not leave our shop.
Bro.
Would not leave. Just kept, and I was
That's
like,
amazing.
how close the butterfly was getting. I was like, I have to film this and send it to Rich.
So we could this honestly we'll probably talk a little bit, but so we had gotten Serena had found a red like tropical milkweed plant that was actually on clearance at Lowe's. She always checks clearance plants. She's like, hey, if I feel like I can save it, like, or kind of bring it back, give it a little love, like why not? Like you saw our house, like from what it was, like our plants have just kind of I'm into it. Like I love the plants.
They're growing in the space,
dude. It's so much fun. But like she brought the milkweed home, and I had no idea about any of this, its connection with monarchs, anything like that. And she simply told me, I saw it at clearance at Lowe's. It's the only place that monarch butterflies lay their eggs. And she was like, I figured we just have it here. And if she's like, it's to help the monarchs. I was like, I love it. Beautiful. Super cute. Like, great idea. It wasn't maybe like the same day, if not the day after, that we were leaving. And I honestly think it was the same day, man. We were leaving, and I just so happened to see a monarch flying like towards where we were, across my neighbor's yard, just flying, and could have landed anywhere, landed on the milkweed, right? Like it saw it. So I recorded it a little bit, and I noticed, like, I was just going to show the video to Serena, like, hey, Serena, like, your thing got a monarch. And actually, when I told her, she had came out and she did a little dance, like, it was cute. It was happy. It was a beautiful little, like, moment, honestly. Look back at the video, the monarch actually had, like, a busted wing, and I was, like, a small, like, kind of chewed up wing. I was like, oh, this is super cool. Like, gave it a little place to rest, whatever. We got a couple people at the house rolling, and Serena noticed, like, ew, there's stuff crawling on my milkweed. Our other friend was like, yo, those are, like, actually, like, the monarch caterpillar, like, babies. And they were all over the place. And they just, to shorten that story, each monarch butterfly needs to have, after researching this, it needs to have essentially like a plant of milkweed for itself. Like, it can consume like up to 20 leaves, like milkweed leaves, in the time before, from the time it like hatches to like it chrysalis. And we did not have that amount. We got more, we just really kind of got as much as we could to fill this planter. And really just supply these growing caterpillars that we're now seeing grow right before our eyes. And there was a lot of them. I'm talking like 35, 40 of them.
Wow.
So we're like, okay, at least we should try to get them to this next stage of life. If they run out of food, they're going to try to look for food. And then, who knows? I don't see any milkweed around here. Like, you see our neighborhood, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we, just honestly did what we could in that regard. And we were going to be going to Boston. One Well, about that time was going to be when we were honestly expecting them to start trying to like chrysalis. So we're looking at forum stuff online and kind of seeing what people who have done this before did. And it's really like just kind of constructing, doing what you can to build something over the top of them for them to kind of crawl up and hang from and wait their time out. So we constructed this out of like laundry baskets, like mesh laundry baskets that works perfect for it. And we left it outside so it could get like natural air, not be in the garage anymore. Within that time, they had depleted the milkweed. There was also like butternut squash was in there that can kind of supplement it, but found out later that milkweed, like it's the milkweed that actually makes monarch caterpillars poisonous to birds. So that's like why their distinctive pattern, birds are kind of like, I should stay away from this thing because it actually is like poisonous to them. Oh, wow. Anyway, so Boston occurs, and to bring all of this stuff was getting planned. This was our last day before we were leaving, and we were doing, closeout stuff for the businesses in the office, and I just happened to check Facebook, and it got leaked that one of my very, very, very good military friends passed away in a training accident that occurred not too long ago. He was in a helicopter crash, and him and 8 other soldiers, so 9 total soldiers, passed away. And if you look at like, I was done. Like, for one, this was when I look back and I say like, okay, like a select few individual soldiers had an impact on me. This was like one of the 3 main ones. Mm-hmm. I had already lost one. One passed away after he was out of the military, and now another very good friend of mine passed away during a training accident. Obviously, very, very easy for me to be mad at the military, be mad at that, be sad. So for one, I was a wreck. Like I couldn't even pack. Serena had to pack my bag for me. Like because of who they were, man. They were such a. So he has a young wife. They have a baby on the way. A lot of stuff to kind of like look at the situation and see it as a very tragic thing. Yeah. And it is in every way it is, because you could look at him too and say like this, it wasn't supposed to happen to him. He was just kind of the one that was like, we took under our wing because he was going to kind of always be there. What he did though for me is actually, as I got out of the military, I lived with him. So I got out and I had nothing. And I was at a very different point in life than I am now. And my lease was up. I needed a place to go. I was out of the military, and he was like, you can stay with me until like you figure this stuff out. I only stayed with him for 2 months, but like we have furniture in my house to this day, like furniture in my daughter's room that they had given me. So like the impact that they had on my life was so huge that my life would not be the same without them. Yeah. I looked at them and I looked at the relationship between the two of them and at the time, Serena and I like hadn't lived together yet. I had just gotten out. She was, going to be getting out, and I looked at them like this is something to aspire to. Like they have a real love, they have something truly beautiful. Like that, I see that they have honestly always had people at their house. They always had so much love to give everybody. You know what I mean? Like the love that they have for each other and for life, honestly, like it impacted way more than them, and I saw that. Yeah. And it was, like I said, something I looked at me and Serena, and I was like, hey, I hope like we can grow and get like to that one day. You know what I mean? Like I see that as like beautiful. Yeah. So I was out and he went through training and everything like that. And you know, we were always going to get back together. He was a wrestler. So, bro, we were going to get back together, and you know what was going to go down. Hey, bro, I got these mats. I got these mats, bro. What's good? Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like the things I can look at or that I did look at, and I was sad about, bro. Fuck yeah, I was sad. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. But like in that, I looked at their example. You know what I mean? And like, what did I look at their relationship? What did I see in their relationship that I envied so much? And like, as they were still in, they were going on trips and constantly posting pictures, and just like, I didn't stop seeing that. You know what I mean? Throughout our time apart, you know, it was constant. So that trip in Boston, like Serena and I took a ton of pictures. You know what I mean? Like, just really, really found, or kind of like recentered on like what was important. After all, like when my stuff settled down, like internally, the very next thought was like, I need to reach out to his wife. You know what I mean? Like, she is such an amazing person, and like nobody deserves to go through that. There was he had never gotten to know the sex of the baby. Yeah. That was actually going to be told to him that night. She had told us. And that just never made it home, obviously. But her, you know, she sees signs too. She felt like she felt his presence in certain signs she was seeing, and I'll get back to that. But in the time there, it was her that had told me about the monarchs, like using the milkweed to essentially become, you know, toxic to birds, and that, you know, how they fly back to Brazil, essentially, like how there's that whole monarch thing that happens every year or whatever, like they fly above the clouds and like literally just drift like hundreds of miles. And although this generation that like was going to be emerging from the chrysalises was probably not going to come back, there was a small chance that down the road a generation may come back to like the general area to essentially do the same. So it was kind of like a big circle of life thing. Yeah. So we got back, and you know, it was a really, really great, you know, getting with them, and I was able to kind of like we went up to a unit memorial, and we're able to honor him in that way, along with the rest of the departed soldiers. And that was important for me and my military background. Again, like I take a lot of pride in that. And although it's not at the forefront of my everyday, like it still means something to me for sure. In the way that I feel like you said, like not so much that I deserve like the recognition, but like the people that are still sacrificing 100% deserve it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you definitely do. You put
like
in time.
I just know what goes into it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And although like I popped out the other end and like, hey, you know, I'm either good or not good, or you know, just completely on whatever that may be. You know, there are people still, you know, going at it.
Risking it, yeah.
And these people were not even deployed. You know what I mean? They were doing a routine training mission that they had probably done like a couple of times before. So, within all that, the overwhelming sense I had was just to kind of ensure that like, just perpetuate that idea that like things were going to be okay. You know what I mean? And not to tell me that, but to where, not even that I say it, you know, just to where this person that I know is so affected, like needs to feel that more than anybody. And like all we could really do was kind of just be there, just be in the situation, just be as close as we could, reach out, you know. We took a plant back for her to kind of like babysit it until we can go up to his service that they're going to have in his hometown. But you know, we not left that situation, but that was just all we wanted to do. Like everything in our schedule, we completely changed our schedule around the one that we had, really got ready before Boston.
Yeah.
The rest of our month to facilitate these trips, up to Fort Campbell to where he's from. And like, it's going, it was like, I wouldn't do anything else. I never looked at that as like a hindrance. I was like, this is all, it was never even like about him or me or Serena. It was all about her. It was all about that. It was all about, this is what is here now. Like, this is where we're at. Like, we need to like continue forward. Oh, So with the Monarchs, I guess we can kind of come back to as we came back and they were starting to chrysalis. Some had definitely gotten out of that enclosure in search of like different food or whatever, different spots to chrysalis, and like nature did its stuff with them. Like, I obviously hope that they were good, but like, because of the time invested. But like even in the wild, this I think is like 2% of monarch caterpillars survive to being a butterfly. So I was like, if we can get like above 2%, like that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And ultimately 9 total butterflies chrysalis. We were a little unsure about some of them because a lot of them had a lot of like squash in their diet before they chrysalis, which made it a little, are they going to pull out of it or not? But ultimately 9 like new butterflies essentially emerged from all the effort that like we put towards just doing what we could, literally just trying to do the best we could for what was in front of us. And like, it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was something, and it was like for no other reason. Like, and again, we didn't know this right away, but it wasn't until later when everything actually was like all said and done, and there were no more butterflies, no more chrysalis. It was like 9 was the number, and 9 was the number of soldiers that passed. So you look at that, you can look at it as signs and stuff like that. I can tell some crazy stuff. And as one person, I know that I don't want to put too much detail out there, but one person in particular was very comforted by seeing a cardinal, which was like represented, I think, by it was like his favorite bird, favorite color, and would not leave that person alone the next day. Was always around. Before that, before Boston, part of our get ready for Boston, one of the things we did was actually set up some bird feeders for a couple cardinals that had been like in our area or like in our backyard, flying around our back. You saw those ones were not around after we set the bird feeders up. They were not anywhere near there. And I actually had a FaceTime conversation with some of the family like before coming here, and like just kind of talking about like, hey, like if you don't want me to say nothing, like 100%, but they were like, just feel what you felt compelled to say. So I truly feel that to say that those cardinals were definitely him, because that's what they were open to. Yeah. And within that open, like being open, like that's where we're going to see these things. That's where we're going to find that communication. That's where we're going to find this comfort. That's where we're going to like transcend the past and like be present in the moment. I got off the conversation as I was turning in the corner and pulled in, and cardinal landed in front of your house. Literally got off the phone.
That's wild.
Look at your shirt, my guy.
Yeah.
Bro.
That's wild. Bro.
So, like, these little things, like, they're not... I'm not going to say that they're anything, because, like, again, saying that it's something, like, is... I feel like, in a way, doing it an injustice. Yeah. But just, like, letting it be and letting the appreciation be there of, like, hey, like, at this point,
let it mean what it means to you.
Bro, at this point, 2 years ago, I met somebody with like a forum that like I can get at least somewhat of this individual story out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to mean anything to me. It doesn't need to mean anything to them. It could mean something for whoever. Yeah. But like, again, it's not who you meet, it's when you meet them. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you hear something, when do you actually open yourself up to it? Yeah. As soon as that happens, that's when you change your life. You know what I mean? Things are never the same. Once you start like being open to it, you're like, okay, you start seeing stuff, you know, and it's either it's going to make an impact on your life or it's not. You know what I mean? If you want to tie a religion to it, 100%, great. You know what I mean? If you want to create your own thing, great. You know, that's fine. But like, experience your emotions and use that to transcend like what's happened and to move, to be present in the moment and have faith that the future will work out how you are directing it to, because it will. The effort you put forth will directly correlate to what happens. It's no choice.
It's true, dude.
That's
like,
wild.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. When you told me that Sunday, I was like, wow, dude. I knew that even within our conversation, there was still so much left unsaid yet.
It's all good though.
And I knew that our listeners had to hear like the perspective you're bringing to it.
And again, like I don't want to call it anything that, like, dude, I'm just one person. Like, I have no idea. I don't need to call it anything.
Like you said, like this could affect somebody that hears this, and then there's no telling how positive that can be,
bro. Like
of an impact of them.
Serena, associated, some, seeing Cardinals as well. And like at very, very, very particular times in terms of her coming with to what's happening out of state. Yeah. And because that's in conjunction with, a local event that we normally support, and we're just like, hey, she was like, literally like, should I go? She said a cardinal flew across her car, like in front of her car, not to where like she hit it, but definitely to where she saw it. And it's just like, bro, like if you're open to it, then it's anything you want it to be. Honestly, it's whatever. The imagination is, it's not even imagination at that point. It's just allowing your mind to do what it wants. You know what I mean? Let your perspective be that, and not try to force it into anything you would want it to be. I can't dictate your perspective of me. Yeah. So
life is crazy. Life is beautiful, dude.
It is, man.
I always try to tell people that have like maybe like a defeatist mindset, like life is what you make it.
Yeah.
Like make it a beautiful one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to start to wrap up and get out of here, but I wanted to shout out some of our sponsors before we do.
Hey.
And you are one of them. I got some of your stuff. I just wore this Sunday. I mean, I washed it, so we ain't got to worry about that.
So you good? So, hey.
Dude, your stuff, dead serious. This is ALE, a lifestyle experiment. You can get them on alefl.com. But your stuff is like some of the best stuff I've ever had. Like, doesn't hold like that sour smell that you get sometimes. Like, damn, I forgot to sell those skis to Cam. I'm just thinking about that now because he was like talking about them after the podcast. But like,
no, yeah,
unbelievable. The fit is perfect.
Thank you, bro.
The stretch is beautiful. As you can tell, I don't have a wrist wrap to mess this one up.
Hey,
but my original is just shredded because of the Velcro. Yeah. But like, you can tell I've worn this several times and it looks mint condition.
Bro,
it's beautiful graphic. I'm sure you guys can see this on the camera. Like, awesome. I love that graphic. You also got the shorts to go with it. Unbelievably flexible. You look dope in them. Yeah. I mean, we shout it out every podcast, but we couldn't be more thankful of the partnership with you. Like,
yeah,
we love the gear.
I appreciate it, and that again, like the fact that people are loving it just tells me that like I'm on the right track. It was never about me. It was never about us. It was never about, you know, even anything. It was merely there was a capability to do this, and it's like kind of like, let's see where we take it. Do I care about the people buying my stuff? Oh yeah. So am I going to ensure that, you know, good quality goes into it? 100%. You know, almost to a fault at times where you know, stuff gets second guessed, and you know, but it's I just want it to be genuine, you know what I mean? And again, it's just to give back, you know what I mean? Like that like I clean windows professionally, and we have a very successful company like in that regard. But to give something back to jiu-jitsu in a way that where, you know, to get good stuff online, it's going to be expensive, you know what I mean, nowadays. And if it's not expensive, it might not last that long. It's just how it is. It may be small, it may be too tight, it may be thin. That's all stuff that I'm like, no. And to include the price line, like I don't want to make anything like ridiculous for people right now. And it just to offer another option that is a quality option, and to perpetuate or to really just it can be a message. It can be a message. Why not? Why can't it be a message? Like, and the quote I used on that actually to reference that is to think lightly of yourself but deeply of the world. Again, like it's been on that release, which it may not stay on all this stuff, but like that was definitely an ode to just highlight like what the company was about, and honestly, like the whole topic of all of this is just to not. It's way more than one individual person. It's way more than just me. It's way more than my ego. It's way more than my perspective. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's my small way of giving back. Honestly.
Well, we couldn't be more thankful.
Dude, and I appreciate y'all, man. I mean,
it means even more that it's not just a company.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're friends. Like we're
very much so.
Like we were bonded before I think we even knew anything about each other.
No,
like before you knew I had a podcast, before I knew you were wanting to do this. Like,
it's a very similar like mindset that we both had, and yeah, we clicked and around something that we both obviously enjoyed setting up that tournament. So like,
it was amazing. It was such a funny circumstances that just lead people to one another.
Right time, baby.
Yeah,
right time.
Awesome,
that's all it is, man. That's all it is.
So, do you want to tell people where they can learn from you and possibly pick up some gear?
Yeah. So, I teach at Panacea Martial Arts, Foley, Alabama, on Wednesday nights. Beginner and advanced no-gi, a little rolling afterwards. But come out there any other day of the week, too. Tony is honestly building something great out there. They just started a yoga class as well. That's in there in the mix, too. A couple open mats, a women's only class for women that are wanting to get into something like this without, you know, the stress of having a male energy present. Like, we totally get it there. We want people to feel comfortable as they're learning something new, doing something they've never done before. You should never feel bad about trying something new, and we obviously ensure that's paramount when it comes to welcoming in new people. So please check out if you're in that Foley area, Panacea Martial Arts. Yeah, they're doing their thing, man.
Did I highly suggest both checking Panacea out and visiting Tony and just talking to them and the entire crew, and Rich,
and you a pretty awesome gym.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you can't make it out to Foley, say you live in Pensacola, Florida. Hey, we got a gym too, bro. It's called Kazusha Club Pensacola. It's right off of Scenic Highway. It's right next to the Domino's on Scenic Highway. Amazing room full of young up-and-coming killers. They push each other to the absolute brinks without hurting one another. But absolutely a room full of people just trying to be better at everything they can be better at. Derek Overby is the head instructor there, but he also runs Little Guy Jits with him and his brother Casey Overby. TikTok star, if you want to look into his TikTok. Super hilarious dude. But together they make Little Guy Jits, and Monday through Friday they have classes. On Tuesday and Thursdays they do wrestling classes, and then they have open mats on Saturdays. There's no night class on Friday, but if you want to DM our page or Kazushi Club Pensacola or Derek Overby or Casey Overby, any of them people can get you set up with a schedule and or a free week trial. Just check it out if you want to come in. It's as good of an environment as you can if you want to start and you are local. Also, if you, for whatever reason, want to ruin your life with tattoos, okay, you can go to Sacred Grounds Tattoos. Johnny Mumbles is currently fixing some mistakes I've made in my life with some tattoo cover-ups and absolutely crushing it. Also, Chauncey has done some work on me. He is another huge artist there, both figuratively and literally. His personality could barely fit in the house that they do the studio in. It's a gorgeous Pensacola historic downtown building. But the whole building is full of amazing artwork, amazing artists. They commission work, so if you want to get like a tapestry or a sign made, you just hit them up and they'll definitely follow through with whatever ideas you have and just flush it fully out and get you some dope work. That's awesome. But amazing people. We had Johnny on. We've had Chauncey on. Amazing individuals, not just artists, but just people in general. Like, I think all of our sponsors are amazing people. I think everybody within the realm has a story. It's not just a company. Like we've literally had all our sponsors on.
That's good.
We've had you, Tony, Chauncey.
That's good.
Derek, Casey, like everybody on.
And
all amazing people.
See, and as a sponsor, like I appreciate the gratitude. Like within that, I appreciate the gratitude. I appreciate like just that relationship as well. And like that's just it. You got to surround yourself with good people. You surround yourself with people that you want to learn from. Surround yourself with people that like make things better, make you think. It's the ones that stop that hold you back, that you need to realize like, hey man, I'm kind of falling into this, I'm kind of doing that, like things are different, like yours, like and that's it. Like these sponsors, everybody within this, like everybody around us, that's where it's so easy being able to maintain these kind of thoughts, like as stuff does get crazy, is like your environment, and those people can very much carry you through. Why? Because hopefully they're doing the same thing. Hopefully they want to lift you up when you can't lift yourself up. You know what I mean? And
I love that.
At times they will. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most times they will.
I mean, everybody that I just mentioned that has been part of a sponsorship with us or that we've had on the couch in those roles have definitely helped perpetuate our growth forward. Like both me and Hilton. Like any conversation, I remember having deep conversations with all of these people, and some of them have been there in like my lowest moments where like I'm literally crying and they're telling me it's going to be okay. Like, and I cannot thank any and all of them people enough for like everything they've done for me, been there for me, and are going to be there. This
is a beautiful forum for that, honestly, and the fact that it's not necessarily like tied down to anything specific. Like you can carry on with this message, and like it is just that. It's all of these different perspectives of life that you're honestly like you're demonstrating every single day that you're so grateful for, and like that's it. Like I'm so grateful for everybody else's experiences that like. It's not mine to change. It's not in any way, shape, or form like mine to dictate how they see the world. So like this is beautiful in that regard, 100%, bro. And
thank you.
We'll support it, bro. You know we're gonna
appreciate it.
support
We try
it,
to
bro.
get still shots of people on what they can bring, like because everybody has something they can share, and I like that our episodes are able to capture like a still shot in time, like
That's
a photograph.
Cool. Very much so. Very much so.
But I really can't thank you enough for coming on again. I can't thank you enough for the gear.
Dude, of course.
Hilton literally wears it all the time to the gym. Like, he doesn't exactly do jiu-jitsu anymore, but he does. He lifts in it.
No, that's. I mean, hey, that's something. That's,
if you're gonna retire from
you can lift it. You can lift in the stuff. You can surf in the stuff.
I literally go to the sauna in it.
Go into the sauna.
Like, if I can't go train or whatnot, I'll wear them in the sauna in the pool. Like, it's not just jiu-jitsu gear.
No.
But it is very good for jiu-jitsu.
100%. 100%. And yeah, we'll have new stuff coming out. Today, as this episode is out, the white joint, the all-white combat collection, 22 edition, that you've seen on the Instagram. Only available for fighters, combat jiu-jitsu athletes that we were sponsoring, is now available. Check it out. It's y'all that are hearing it first, as well as our subscribers. So get on there, get it before it's gone, before the Instagram rush. But hey, I appreciate, honestly, even being able to come on and just share my little bit. Like, it's more than I've ever thought to ask for, and like, I mean, I'm so grateful for the opportunity, bro.
Hey, we're equally as grateful. Everybody listening and me being here in this chair. It's equal, bro. It's mutual.
That's it, babe. Yeah. Gratitude before anything, right?
Yeah, dude.
Attitude of gratitude.
Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Get on Hilton's ass. He needs to be in here, but he's much better at these outros than I am. But we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week.
See you guys. Thank you.